Well, thanks for staying with us. You're watching Beyond World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh, and let's start this broadcast by taking a quick look as to what is making headlines at this hour. The NATO Secretary-General Marks Rutte warns that the Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to wipe Ukraine off the map and could come after other parts of Europe next, as he urges Europeans to press their governments to ramp up their defence spending. The American Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has said that the Israeli airstrikes in Syria since the fall of President Bashar al-Assad aim to keep military equipment out of wrong hands. The Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says that he has discussed with French President Emmanuel Macron about the possibility of stationing foreign troops in Ukraine in case of a ceasefire, but that Warsaw is not currently planning any such actions on its own. India's Ministry of Defence signs a contract with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited for 12 Su-30 MKI aircraft along with associated equipment to the Indian Air Force for 13,500 crore rupees. That's about $1.41 billion. And Gaza's Civil Defense Agency has said that the Israeli bombings have killed another 33 more Palestinians, including 12 guards who were securing 8 trucks in southern parts of the Palestinian territory. The Time magazine has named the US President-elect Donald Trump as its Person of the Year, marking the second time that he's won this accolade in acknowledgement of his stunning return as the President of the United States of America. And the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates D. Gukesh for becoming the youngest world chess champion. The 18-year-old beat the defending champion Ding Liren in the final game of the 14-match series in Singapore.
As supermarket aisles fill up with shoppers, Woolworths is right now facing the challenge of filling those shelves after recent worker strikes threw supply chains into absolute chaos. So to discuss this and more, we're joined by Woolworths CEO Amanda Bardwell from Melbourne. Amanda, look, we really do appreciate you getting on the show and talking to us about this. Those setbacks with the strikes, they weren't what was ideal ahead of a festive season. They couldn't have come at a worse time. How are you coping with it now, and how are the stores coping with it?
Yeah, good morning, David. And I'm joining you today from our Fisherman's Bend store in Melbourne. And yes, it has been incredibly challenging. Firstly, for our customers, I want to take the opportunity to just once again apologise. It's been very frustrating for our customers in Victoria, parts of ACT and southern New South Wales that have been impacted by the recent strikes. And what I'm really pleased to say is that we now have all 4 of those DCs operating. Our team are back, and in fact we've been filling those shelves as quickly as we possibly can.
So they're saying that this Woolworths is going to cost about $140 million, this whole schlemazel. So will customers, are they going to see that at the checkout, or are you going to absorb those costs?
We have got great value in our stores, David, and no, we won't be having that flow through to our customers. What we've been really focused on is actually making sure that we've got a sustainable business. And again, I apologise to our customers who, have had their daily shopping disrupted over the last couple of weeks in some parts of Australia. But again, what we've been focused on is how can we create a really safe environment for our team in our distribution centres, and how can we continue to provide really great value for our customers? So I can assure you customers will not be seeing that cost flow through.
So the Christmas table, nothing's going to be missing. All the ham, all the mince pies, everything's going to be on the shelves. We're going to have it on our tables this Christmas.
Yeah, well, David, look, again, our team have done a fantastic job over the last 5 days to get all of the cartons we can through our network. And in fact, they've moved around 3 million cartons, 1,500 truck movements into all of those impacted stores so that when our customers turn up, the items that you're looking for are there. Over the next couple of days, what you'll see is that continue to improve. And when it comes to doing your Christmas shopping, I can assure all of our customers that all of your little special Christmas favourites will be at your local Woolies. You can see behind me right now that even as I'm talking, our fresh products are in great supply. Lots of abundant mangoes, fresh fruit and veggies, meat, milk, bread, and every single day we're getting a little bit better in terms of that supply across grocery and some of our frozen areas. And by Christmas, we'll absolutely be in full stock.
Well, I've certainly been smashing the stone fruit aisle at my local Woolies. Amanda, we really do appreciate your time this morning. Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, I love a mango. Mangoes are really fabulous this season.
It's the time, it's the season. All right, thanks,
Apple's
Amanda.
artificial intelligence has launched in Australia, promising to change the way we use our devices. As Eddie Meyer discovered, new photo, writing and search tools will now be powered by AI.
Apple lauds it as transformational.
It's really bringing this power of artificial intelligence and making it really practical, useful, private, and ultimately helpful.
Apple Intelligence is embedded into every feature on your devices, including a clean-up tool for photos that allows you to remove unwanted elements. You can ask Apple Intelligence to make emails more professional or friendlier, and it can summarise long chains of emails. Long documents can also be condensed into an easy-to-read summary. Want a personalised emoji? Simply describe it. A koala delivering a gift? No problem.
The great thing about Apple Intelligence is you don't have to go and find it. It's right there when you need it.
Apple argues it's used forms of artificial intelligence within its ecosystem for years, but when it comes to embedding AI into its devices, well, it's a little late to the party, with its competitors getting the jump on them.
Samsung launched its Galaxy AI onto its devices in January, with Motorola and Google also launching their versions this year. Among the greatest concerns with artificial intelligence, privacy. Apple promises most of what you do happens securely within your device.
If the thing you ask is just a little bit more complex, it sends that request off to the cloud, but not just some random cloud. They've actually built their own private cloud which processes this information privately, deletes it after it's used.
Apple Intelligence, though, is only available on iPhone 15 Pro and above, and more recent iPads and Macs. Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
Meta has donated $1 million to President-elect Donald Trump's inaugural fund, the company confirmed to various news outlets on Wednesday. A move that comes just weeks after its CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, met with Trump at his Mar-a-Lago residence in an apparent bid to mend years of strained ties. According to the Wall Street Journal, which first reported the donation, Mark Zuckerberg's team had informed Trump's inaugural team of Meta's plans to contribute to the fund before his dinner with the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago last month. Meta confirmed to the Journal it had made the donation, but did not provide any additional details about why it chose to do so. Citing public records, the report added that Meta had not made any contribution to Trump's 2017 or Biden's 2021 inaugural funds. The New York Times previously reported that Trump's inaugural committee was offering special access to donors who either contributed $1 million or raised $2 million. In July, Trump attacked Zuckerberg again in a post on his Truth Social platform, where he promised to, quote, pursue election fraudsters at levels never seen before, and they will be sent to prison for long periods of time. Trump ended his post with, quote, Zuckerbucks, be careful. Despite the attacks and insults, Zuckerberg praised Trump in July after he survived an assassination attempt, and told Bloomberg that the photo of him raising his fist after a bullet grazed his ear was, quote, one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life. For more on this story, check out Scylla Ditya Razor.
Taiwan is on high alert with fighter jets making their rounds amid a sharp uptick in Chinese military activity. More than 60 military aircraft and naval vessels have been detected around the island in just the past 24 hours, marking the largest single-day incursion since October.
An escalating show of force near the Taiwan Strait and the ensuing blame game. Taiwan accuses China of being a troublemaker, with nearly 100 of its warships and Coast Guard vessels menacing the island and farther out along the First Island chain. This includes the southern islands of Japan and the Philippines, making it the largest Chinese maritime operation in decades. Taipei has demanded an immediate end to the provocation.
中国这样的行径是对印太区域安全稳定现状的公然破坏，更是对国际社会投入不安的变数。
China has neither confirmed nor denied the drills, but it has instead laid blame on Taiwan, accusing external forces and separatists for stoking tensions.
对台独分裂势力勾连外部势力谋独挑衅的动向，我们是高度警惕，绝不会听之任之。我们采取必要措施，坚决捍卫国家主权和领土完整，维护台海和平稳定，保障两岸同胞的根本利益。
Taiwan's military has been on high alert since Monday after it found China had reserved airspace and deployed naval and Coast Guard ships to the region. Beijing was expected to launch a new round of war games in response to Taiwanese leader William Lai's recent tour of the Pacific, which included U.S. stopovers in Hawaii and Guam. But Taiwan says China's latest military drills pose a threat that is more pronounced than any of its previous war games and could be designed to signal it's capable of sealing off the self-ruled island.
2024年这个军演跟2022、2023最大的不一样是有中国海警加入。对，那中国海警就是如果有一天，中国要封锁台湾的话，那这个外圈就会由解放军来负责。那对内封控就是对内封控台湾就会由中国海警跟中国的海上民兵来负责所以从军事上来看为什么这一次不用军演的名义然后行军演之实的原因在于他在演练对内封控台湾。
Taipei has also described the massive operation as an attempt to draw a so-called red line for the incoming U.S. president as his inauguration draws near.
A teenage boy has been stabbed several times during a frenzied attack near Bacchus Marsh. He's recovering in hospital after 10 thugs armed with machetes viciously hunted him down. Crime reporter Gillian Lantouris.
Running for his life, a 17-year-old boy is chased by a gang of armed thugs. One by one, his attackers get out of this Ford sedan before it even comes to a stop. Screams and shouts waking residents along Riverbend Drive in Darley.
Yeah, it just freaked me out. And it was like 5:30 in the morning.
More offenders arrive in another vehicle. The teenager is then cornered in a stranger's backyard on Hartog Grove. Their frenzied machete attack unfolding in front of a young family on Monday morning.
Yeah, they're very anxious and very concerned about the neighbourhood they live in.
First time ever I've locked both doors, back door, sliding door, left a light on last night.
The teenager was taken to the Royal Melbourne Hospital undergoing emergency surgery. Police are now on the hunt for up to 10 culprits.
These offenders are perceived to be of African appearance. We believe this is a targeted incident and we're looking at the links between the victim and the offenders.
And whether the attack was gang-related or an act of retribution.
We don't have many gang issues here in Bacchus Marsh per se, and these offenders could be from our neighbouring suburbs.
Some of the offenders posted video of the brutal attack to social media. Police are hoping anyone with that footage or security vision can send that in to investigators. The Subaru was found dumped in Melton, but police need the public's help to find the Ford Falcon.
Without them, a lot of these crimes can go unsolved.
Gillian Lantouris, 9 News.
In just the past couple of hours, we received the Justice Department Inspector General's report on actions involving the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. And it says that the FBI prepared for the possibility of violence, but should have done more to collect intelligence before the attack. The report also says that no undercover FBI employees were present that day, and none of the Bureau's informants were authorized to participate. The report also knocks down a fringe conspiracy theory advanced by some Republicans in Congress that the FBI played a role instigating the events.
Now, finally, I just want to add a few comments on the reports of drone activity here on the East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. That's it.
The shock and outrage continues, with South Korean authorities uncovering new details about President Yoon Suk-yeol's sudden declaration of martial law. Police arrested the National Police Commissioner, accused of ordering officers to block lawmakers from entering parliament, while the country's Special Forces commander testified he was ordered days before Yoon declared martial law to seize parliament, drag MPs out, and take over the opposition HQ and other political sites, including a popular news broadcaster, with troops apparently grouped outside its office. I thought if martial law wasn't lifted, I could have died, the apparently targeted journalist says.
The moment is unprecedented in history, like since South Korea became a democracy in 1987.
The defense minister who advised the president to impose martial law tried to die by suicide while detained. Authorities Wednesday said his life isn't in danger. And police tried to search the presidential offices, but were turned away.
What we're really seeing is the actions surrounding the conversation about insurrection.
Afterwards, Yoon supporters laid flowers. They are the few. The country's wrath seems to only deepen. Yoon's own party leader and the opposition announced they'll act for the president.
Right now, we're in a very uncharted constitutional territory. There is not anything saying that they can hand over leadership directly to the prime minister while there is a seated South Korean president that's not impeached.
Yoon survived one impeachment vote. He faces another on Saturday. The protester says they'll remain until Yoon's voted out. As important as that is, though, an expert tells Global News the more pressing challenge is finding out what really happened.
People want to know about it. The people want to know if they're safe, if the system is failing or not. And none of these questions have been answered.
President Yoon has not appeared in public since rescinding martial law, but all the focus is on him. Nathaniel Dove, Global News.
For the 14th straight night, thousands took to the streets. Waving European and Georgian flags, they want to one day be part of the European Union. And for Georgia's pro-Moscow ruling party to stop delaying such talks.
Halting any aspect of this process or refusing to proceed will undoubtedly harm our country.
Since legislative elections on October 26th, Georgia's been plunged into political turmoil. Officials said that the Georgian Dream Party won, but there are widespread accusations of fraud. Yet it's the party's November 28th decision to postpone talks to join the EU until 2028 that created a surge of protests in the streets. Such rallies and gatherings have been met by an unusually harsh police crackdown and mass arrests in the Black Sea nation. Gangs of masked men have been attacking opposition members. From Poland, Emmanuel Macron said the crisis bears the signs of Russian interference.
Georgia has clearly been subjected to interference and manipulation. I again want to express all of my support to those who are defending democracy and the European path for Georgia.
Such unrest comes just days before Saturday's presidential elections. The future president will be chosen for the first time by an electoral college rather than by popular vote. The change was put in place by Georgian Dream, and it's widely seen as a means of their consolidating control, much to the ire and concern of many Georgians.
The president won't be considered a legitimate one because he'll be elected by an illegitimate electoral college. We as Georgians will not recognize him.
The current pro-Western, pro-Europe president, Salome Zurabichvili, is at loggerheads with the ruling party. While her mandate ends December 29th, she said she will not step down until a vote is reheld. One, she said, without widespread.
The political deadlock in France continues to persist. President Emmanuel Macron's self-imposed deadline to appoint a prime minister is drawing to a close, but there is still no name that has been announced yet. On Tuesday, Macron set a 48-hour deadline for himself to finalize as to who will succeed Michel Barnier after the latter was ousted in a vote of no confidence, with barely 3 months in office. Till Wednesday evening, there was no consensus across party lines on who will form the government, but it remains to be seen if the top leaders have found common ground. Now, according to the deadline, Macron is expected to appoint the new Prime Minister later by this evening. As per a government official, the President will cut short his ongoing visit to Poland as the self-imposed cut-off nears. So after the historic no-confidence vote last week sent France back into a political deadlock, Macron had reached out to several party leaders on Tuesday in an attempt to form a new government. However, the far-right National Rally and also the hard-left France Unbowed party leaders were not invited to meet with the president. Both parties had joined forces to topple Barnier's minority government. And we earlier spoke with our correspondent Ross Cullen, who joined us live from Paris. Listening to what he had to say.
No, the name is going to come when Emmanuel Macron decides to announce the formation of the next government under the name of the person he appoints to be Prime Minister. Still a secret. Emmanuel Macron is not even in the country at the moment. He is still in Poland. He's returning shortly from Poland. He's cut short that trip. He met Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, earlier for talks centred on Ukraine. He had other engagements in the afternoon, but he's decided to cut those short and fly back to France, where he is due back here this evening in order to attend to the ongoing search for a new Prime Minister. Will it be François Bayrou? He is the leader of the Democratic Movement Party, a centrist party very close to Emmanuel Macron's party Ensemble. Will it be Bernard Cazeneuve, the former Prime Minister? He was PM for about 6 months under the former President François Hollande. That might be a name that gets support from people on the left, because there have been parties on the left that would like to see a left-wing Prime Minister, parties on the right that would like to see a right-wing Prime Minister. Or it could be a surprise. Emmanuel Macron might come up with a name that was not discussed previously.
Donald Trump is furious. The president-elect has voiced his anger over the American decision to allow Ukraine fire the American-supplied missiles deep into Russia. This comes a day after Russia has vowed to punish Ukraine for firing American ATACMS missiles. Now, Ukraine had struck a military airfield on the Azov Sea with 6 American-made ATACMS ballistic missiles. Now, the American officials feel that this move could in fact prompt Moscow to launch another experimental intermediate-range hypersonic missile at Ukraine. And Russia's defense ministry said that the attack by the Western long-range weapons will not go unanswered, and appropriate measures will of course be taken. It is unclear at this moment as to how Russia will respond. Russia fired a new intermediate-range hypersonic ballistic missile called the Oreshnik, which means hazel tree in Russian, at Ukraine on the 21st of November. The President Vladimir Putin said that the strike in Dnipro was a direct response to the strikes on Russia by the Ukrainian forces with the American and British long-range missiles. The Biden administration is rushing aid and has changed major policy decisions to help Ukraine. The Biden administration is also pushing every available dollar out of the door to shore up Ukraine's defenses before leaving office in about 6 weeks' time. It's also announced about $2 more billion of additional support since Trump won the presidential election last month. Now, to give us more details in terms of what the American strategy at this moment appears to be, we are joined by our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who is joining us live from New York. Susan, it is just a matter of weeks before Joe Biden, of course, exits the White House, but in the interim, he seems to be climbing up the escalatory ladder by sanctioning the use of long-range missiles by the Ukrainians to strike targets inside the Russian territory. What is the strategy that Joe Biden seems to be employing here?
Joe Biden in these final days is clear that he wants to make sure that Ukraine is in a good negotiating position, because ultimately there has to be a negotiated settlement with Russia when Donald Trump comes in power. Zelensky has said that. Putin has said that. Donald Trump has alluded to that as well. He says that's the reason that he's, providing what he is providing to Ukraine. But I think it was very important to hear about Donald Trump's interview with Time magazine. Mind you, this was an interview that he made before Thanksgiving, before he met with Vladimir Zelensky just about a week ago, a few days ago. So he says that he was completely against the fact that the United States gave permission for Ukraine to attack inside Russian territories with U.S. weaponry on the one hand, but he also made clear that he wasn't going to abandon Ukraine because he thinks that the way Ukraine is set right now with all of this aid coming from the United States, it'll be in a good negotiating position for the United States and possibly for Ukraine, which the president-elect said is an ally at the end of the day. What's concerning right now is that on the one hand, as you mentioned, Russia might be using those lethal weapons. That's recent news that we're hearing. And also we're hearing that Donald Trump, of course, in October said that he wanted to raise NATO's defense spending for all countries to about 3% of GDP. We're now hearing the Secretary General of NATO say that we need to go to pre-Cold War budgets. And he's acknowledging that, and NATO member states are talking about that. So the situation is tense. These are all moving parts. Right. But it was very interesting that on the one hand, the former president said that he doesn't want Ukraine to infiltrate into Russian territory, but on the other hand said that he wouldn't be abandoning Ukraine in these situations either.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Iritun Tehrani, for joining us with those details there.
So what is the response to these serious threats by the Prime Minister? The Prime Minister is telling us it's okay, oh, he's just joking, Donald Trump's just making jokes, no big deal. It is a big deal. On top of that, what we're seeing from Trudeau is that anytime Trump says jump, he says how high. That is not strength. That is not actually responding to what's going on. And then when Trump trash talks Canada, we got the leader of the Conservative Party repeating that garbage. That hurts Canada. That hurts Canadian workers. What we need to do is acknowledge that Trump is a bully. Bullies look for weakness. That's why he's trolling us. So we need to send a message of strength. We need to have a real war room ready to go, fighting for Canadian jobs with unions at the table. We need to put in place and get ready to put in place retaliatory tariffs. We have to make it clear, if Trump picks this fight, it's going to hurt both of us, and it's not a fight that he wants. We have to show strength, that we're willing to do whatever it takes to protect Canadian jobs. We have to also make sure it's very clear that tariffs on Canada don't just hurt Canadians, it's going to hurt Americans. We need to make that message very clear, make sure the pain is felt, and so he knows this is not the direction he wants to go. We have to defend Canadian jobs, and that's my commitment.
People of Iran, as we see history unfold before our very eyes, I can only imagine what you're feeling right now. Your oppressors spent over $30 billion supporting Assad in Syria. Today, after only 11 days of fighting, his regime collapsed into the dust. Your oppressors spent billions supporting Hamas in Gaza. Today, their regime lies in ruins. Your oppressors spent over $20 billion supporting Hezbollah in Lebanon. In a matter of weeks, most of Hezbollah's leaders, its rockets, and thousands of its terrorists went up in smoke. The money your oppressors stole from you literally went up in smoke. You must be furious imagining the new roads, schools, hospitals that could have been built with the tens of billions of dollars your dictators wasted backing terrorists who lose over and over and over again. Do you know why Iran's oppressors keep losing? It's not only because they're incompetent and cruel. They are. It's because they seek to conquer other nations, to impose fundamentalist tyranny on the Middle East, on the entire world. The only thing Israel seeks is to defend our state. But in so doing, we're defending civilization against barbarism. The historic events we witness today are a chain reaction to the pounding of Hamas, the decimation of Hezbollah, the targeting of Nasrallah, the blows we delivered to the Iran regime's axis of terror. And all this came, as President Trump pointed out this week, because of Israel and its fighting success. I want to make clear, Israel wants peace. We want peace with all those who truly want peace with us. And I have no doubt that you, the people of Iran, know this. I know that just as we want peace with you, you want peace with us. But you suffer under the rule of a regime that subjugates you and threatens us. You know what this regime is truly terrified of? It's terrified of you, the people of Iran. And one day, I know that, one day this will change. One day Iran will be free. Women, life, freedom, zan, zandagi, azadi. That is the future of Iran. That is the future of peace. And I have no doubt that we will realize that future together a lot sooner than people think. I know, and I believe, we will transform the Middle East into a beacon of prosperity, progress, and peace. Thank you.
France has called on Israel to withdraw its forces from the Golan demilitarized zone and respect Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The appeal follows Israeli troops entering the buffer zone near the Golan Heights, which is a violation of the 1974 disengagement agreement brokered by the United Nations. The French Foreign Ministry emphasized that any military deployment in the buffer zone between Israel and Syria is a violation, urging Israel to honor its commitments. Now, alongside France, the United Nations has also echoed these concerns, warning both Israel and Syria against breaching the terms of the accord. The situation escalated after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that Israeli defense forces entered the buffer zone to address potential security threats arising from Syria's growing instability.
Hadi.